Yeah, so we all know, I've been on the supplier side and the operator side, and we all know how the poor operators are being trashed from all sides, everywhere. I mean, even Craig was just talking about all of the different and adding Equinix in the placards. Where's the role for the operator? So there are definitely a lot of competition around, but if you've ever been in an operator, then you'll know that it's, and as Alan pointed out this morning, it's not that they don't want to be quick, but it's the regulation and how they're structured and the skill sets and the participation and the standards, which, you know, if you're looking at selling to your customers, do you want to spend, they used to have money under the CTO group typically to send people to standards, but that money has shrunk and there's not as much participation. I represented Telstra in the different standards organizations, but I was one of the very, very few people who could do that. So if you think about what is happening and how we need to be more agile, as an industry even, how we need to be more agile, reduce our costs completely, such that we can be more effective at delivering services. And why is this even more important now? Because it's always been important. You know, we've always said, oh, we need to reduce our costs, we need to be agile, and things like that. But nowadays, it's even more important because who has noticed what's happening with the 72% of the growth here, okay? So this is where we think we're gonna get, as operator, we think we're gonna get money from to grow, to replace the competition from before, you know, where you used to get voice revenues. Operators don't get a lot of voice revenue these days, right? It goes, who doesn't use WhatsApp or Skype or whatever when they're away, right? But in 2G, 3G, 4G, and so on, operators had the direct connection to the customer, and they resold the handsets and so like that. So they had the relationship with the partners, and they had the relationship directly with you as a consumer, right? They sold you a voice service with hopefully a headset that you will have, that it will sort of subsidize, put it on your bill every month. But look at every single one of these 5G things. Do you think that operators are going to create cars or are going to resell to you cars for the connected cars? How many things that we're going to be, or service providers are going to be selling cars to you? We're not. Are we going to create robots? Are we going to sell you robots? I doubt it. Right? So as an operator, suddenly, you know, Craig put up a good, so what's the role of the operators? Well, think about all of these new growth area for 5G, and where is the role of the operators in here? Okay? So even in IoT, now, if you think about all of that, that means that we have to have a role to play in the industry. There has to be a role for the operators, otherwise, well, you know, there's still going to be some connectivity. There's still going to be something, but all it means is that suddenly we need to rethink how we do things, and we need to become even more agile. It's even more important to be agile. My boss at Telstra was saying, you know, what I would love is to see a press release out there where suddenly this company says, you know, thanks to my partner at Telstra, we were able to deliver A, B, C, and D much faster, quicker, with a better user experience. And we need to be able to put ourselves in there, in the middle, but seamlessly inside of these 5G ecosystems and so on. That's where we need to be. But the way that we're organized right now, in terms of how we do things, it takes operator typically between 18 to 24 months to deliver a product that they're going to resell to their customer. Why? not because they want to, but because of the way that things are organized. So we all saw that this morning was all about the network and how the network technology is transformed and everything, which is great. But the reality is, every single one of those network technology transformation is getting more and more and harder to manage, right? So 5G or virtualization has come in, and all it did is add more complexity from a management perspective, because now we have to not only manage that network service, but now we have to manage the system, the servers, and make sure that how that server is connected and how we collect the alarm, not just the network service function, but actually the alarm of the servers in case it's a server that has a fault that impacts the network service performance and all of those things. It just created more and more headaches. And if you think that that's helping in the management, we're going to deliver services faster, it certainly won't do that. So what do we need? The 5 key business challenges facing operators today is the business and IT agility, right? And how do we reduce our time to deliver the new services that we need in support of the 5Gs and the IoT and so on? Cost optimization, reducing our costs, because otherwise, not only is our cost high, but it's our time that takes too long. So then we need the digital customer experience. We need to be able to seamlessly integrate ourselves into a value chain and into this ecosystem. And then we have the B2B growth so that we can be integrating much quicker with our partners. And the B2C is also required. So from the TM Forum, a lot of service providers and system integrators, as well as suppliers, have got together and say, well, we need a new architecture to be more digitalized. So in the past, it used to be that digital IT was the internal supplier of the support system, and it was very monolithic. So it was sort of like, let's say we want to offer a new even 2G, 4G, 3G, it doesn't matter what it was, but it said, okay, as a network engineering team, I would go to my IT system and said, okay, well, I have this supplier, and I need to put that in, and then you need to talk to the O2A team to know how to configure the stuff. Then you needed to talk to the assurance team and how they're going to collect the KPIs and how they're going to collect the alarms and then how they're going to troubleshoot it and things like that. And then you need to talk to the billing team and the billing team to know how they're going to gather the usage data and all of those things. And it's a huge project. Now think about it. Let's say I have internet security today that I'm offering to my customer as a service, right? And in my internet security, I have a firewall, and let's say I'm using a physical firewall, and I want to, my supplier, let's say was Juniper. Juniper comes in and say, hey, we've moved to virtualization. It's going to be much easier, much faster, move to virtualization, and you can, in all your data centers, you'll be able to instantiate and go, okay, so our internet security suddenly product would benefit from that because then I could offer it to more enterprises and things like that. Well, do you know what that means? Even though it's the same internet security product that I've been selling to my enterprise customer for a long time, I have to recreate a brand new product because even though it's the same supplier, it's a brand new way of managing it. So now I have to go to all my IT systems, and then I have to create a way to manage this new box. Even though it's the same network service, it's a new way of managing, it's a new way of collecting the alarm, it's a new ways of finding out how to troubleshoot it, and all of those things, okay? It's a brand new program, and that whole thing, even though it's the same product that I'm selling, it's gonna take me about a year, if I'm really lucky, to be able to offer that to my customers. Right? It's just the way it is. The whole thing is done, it takes so long because I have to adapt to APIs, because now it's a new box, And the new box needs, I need to talk to it in this way, and I need to collect the information in this way with these APIs, because everybody's got the best APIs. Every single supplier here, you all have your best API. My APIs are the best, right? Juniper have their best APIs, Cisco have their best APIs, Advil have their best API, but they're all proprietary. Every single one of them are proprietary, but they had to do proprietary because they're the best, right? That's just the way it is. But, me as a service provider, or, as a service provider, this is what happens is that, okay, so I had a way of managing Cisco, and now I want to use Juniper. Well, it's a brand new product. Again, I have to recreate it, and I have to adapt to their APIs. It's forever. And 80% of the product that I buy, that to implement it, 80% cost goes to system integration, and 20% will go to buying the feature for that entire project cost. 80%, think about it. It's amazing. And that's why it takes us so long, because not only do we have to test those APIs because they're the best, and we have to adapt to them, but we're implementing this in the network, so we have to make sure that that new box fits with the network can communicate between the boxes together, the network function is still working properly, and so on. Then I need to make sure in my assurance system, my performance management, in my configuration management, in my billing system, and in all my IT system, which are all different systems, and depending if it's in the, by the way, if I use that firewall in my consumer, or in my enterprise, or in my wholesale business, they're all different IT systems, which means that I can't even reuse anything. I have to redo this thing again and again and again, right? So now you want to know why we're so slow at doing things? So it's not our fault, but basically we have to move to a new way of thinking, because understanding how you're going to program all of these things and collect all these alarms and understanding this, everybody is just basically doing system integration, because for every supplier, it's all the same thing. So we have to move more to standard APIs. We love your proprietary API, which are the best, but let's move to standard APIs. Behind that, you can be the best at translating it into your own way of doing things. Okay, but let's talk standard APIs, all right? Let's be modular. Let's talk over APIs across the board. We need to be agile. Technology, business expertise. We have to upgrade the skills and continuous development. It's all there, but we have to move in a different way. Now, we're not changing in terms of conceiving it from an idea, going into the design phase, realizing it, and putting the service into action. But we have to do it faster, cheaper, with a better customer experience, with hopefully new revenues that's going to come in, because we're going to be in the middle there of that 5G stack or IoT, and we're going to be more seamless and faster to do this. So whereas we had the traditional IT stack, we want to move more to a digital native IT, where we have virtualized infrastructure, cloud native, and AI enabled. And where the partner, the digital service provider, will be able to partner with lots of other service providers, or suppliers, or partners from a 5G perspective, like robotic or connected cars and things like that, right? And so we need to have more open way of doing things with simplified and automation and more intelligence, so that IoT have the scale is going to be incredible. So we need to be able to do things quicker and faster. It's not that we want to lay off people. Every time you say automation, then it goes, I just want to lay off people. No, it's not that. We just don't have a choice, right? We don't have a choice. Otherwise, how many cars are going to be connected? Well, your car is going to be tomorrow, your car is going to be in the month, your car is going to be we just can't do it otherwise, right? So what was done at the TM Forum, and it's not the TM Forum employees, It's funny how the MEF and the TMF and the ETSI and they're all say, it's TMF's fault or it's MEF's fault, right? It's not their fault. It's not the employees. They're the facilitator. It's really the members that are contributing. And I did a lot of contribution in the standards and putting papers together and saying, well, this is what we would like, and then other service providers or other suppliers would go and argue, and we'd get there somehow, and everybody has to bend a little bit. But there's a lot of tools out there. So for an operator, you all have your ways. You all want to transform. You all want to become a digital service provider. Don't start from scratch. Get some of those stuff. It's out there. And suppliers, again, don't start from scratch. There's a lot of stuff that's out there, and start from there. And start for, sorry. There's lots of things has been written by a lot of intelligent people, and benefits from that because it's been reviewed by lots of different companies. There's not just one company, but it's the views of lots and lots of different companies. So start from somewhere that we know there's already something there. So on the ODA, so Open Digital Architecture, there is the concept and principles architecture document. So we have, the document number, and some of them are available to the public. And I would bet that a lot of your companies are probably members of the TM Forum, and anyone that is a member, you can just create your own user ID, and you can have access to all of those things. So there is a lot of things that has been written, and which you can take advantage. And for this particular, because we are talking about network transformation in particular, I'm going to focus in the IG 1167 functional architecture, probably because I actually wrote the section on production, which I know best, and this is the area that I think is where we need to change, where I believe that it's going to be very critical that we change. So, I mean, we don't have a choice, right? From the industry point of view, service providers need to be able to have a way, you have a front end, and then you're getting an order in, right? So either somebody walks into a store and somebody else takes the order, or you come in through a digital channel. You have a way to take in a request for a service, and then this will go into your core commerce, which is basically, there's a whole lot of things. And that's probably why a lot of people go OSS, BSS, and go, I don't know, I think it's something like voodoo. There's a lot of things happen because from an operator, I mean, you don't realize that, before we can sell you something, we have to make sure you have a credit score, and we have to make sure your address is there. You order fiber to the home or high-speed internet, but we have to make sure that there is a point to your address, or we have to make sure that your address exists, and if you're doing something at the other end, so with the MEF services, if you're trying to go to a location from an enterprise, and the enterprise is in another country, well, you have to make sure that address is valid and that there's an operator that can service that address. And there's a whole lot of things that people just don't know that happens in the background. And there's a lot of processes. And TM Forum's got just about every single process that you need to do if you're an operator. So again, it's a great place to look at. But basically, let's say you've ordered something, and then you come in, and then core commerce would go to the production, because this is the realization. This is where things are going to happen. And then in between, you have the decoupling. So engagement management is customer experience. Party management is if you need a partner to deliver something, that's where the party management is about the settlement and all of those things. Then you'll have core commerce is basically supporting third party, the marketplace offers. This is where you create your service composition, your orchestration. Intelligent management is a new area that was created for the open digital architecture, and it's all about the AI, the machine learning, and how this impacts and how you receive the information from the other places, from the production and the core management. and you do lots of analysis and those things. And then you'll have production, which is basically abstracting the complexity of the infrastructure. And production is a combination of the service management and the resource management. And then you'll have decoupling with the API. So everything has to go over APIs because we need to have as much automation as we can. And this is where we would basically be able to connect everything across. And I just thought that this would be really interesting for you, which would be the examples of production. And as Christos is walking out, I'm just about to talk about Orange. So Orange, the way their productions, they have announced the ways of their factories. And they're basically going to go a software basically service factory. Then they'll have a network service factory, a cloud, a SaaS, PaaS, IaaS factory. They'll have an access network factory, field intervention, and so on. But from all of it, what they're going to do is expose services from each of those factories. And one factory can call another factory. But from their core commerce, from their order management, if you want, they will send one request to one factory. And that factory will be responsible for creating that service end to end, but also can call another factory. So for example, if they have a software service factory, this is where the Orange Bank would be located. They'll also have their TV service or their email service. This is their software factory. But that software factory would need to request for the access, for example. So if you have a TV service, you need to make sure that you'll have an access delivered over to your home to be able to have the TV service. So these are something that Orange is definitely focusing on. Now we got the scenario B from Telefonica, and I don't know if you would agree because it wasn't Antonio who gave us that, Javier, sorry, but it wasn't your group, but it was another group which talked about you're keeping, from that point of view, you were keeping your traditional way of doing service management, talking to the network services, so the VNF, the virtualization, and the resources. Whereas the Orange is really only talking about service exposure. Now the scenario C and scenario F, scenario C is Telstra. And the difference with Telstra and Orange, because they're all talking about domains and exposure of network services, the difference is that Telstra's decided to go in their transformation in a gentler way, if you want. So whereas Orange says, I'm going to have a software factory, and everybody that does software services going into that factory. And there's going to be an access service factory, so everybody that does fiber to the home or DSL or whatever, they're all going to go in that way. But that means reorganization. So Telstra decided that, well, you know what? We already organize with the transport group, the media group, the wireless group, they all have their groups. So to do the transformation was a lot easier to just not to say, oh, and we're going to reorganize you as well. No, we're going to leave you in your group that you're presently from a network perspective, but you're going to expose services, okay? You're just going to expose services, and you're going to be hiding all of the resource level, and I just want you to expose services. Why? Because let's say that there are 6 products that I'm selling to each of my customer, okay? I'm selling 6 products, and they all use a firewall, right? So they all use a firewall, so I have internet security, I have managed firewall service, I have internet gateway, or I have something, but each of these 6 products, they use firewall. And each of those things were created as a silo. And they each had their own suppliers for firewall. Well, guess what? The next product that comes in and uses a firewall is going to have to recreate that whole chain, go to each of the IT system, Whereas if I've converted and I use firewall as a service now, that means that any new product I'm going to sell to my customer is all going to be advertised or exposed, and they can all reuse that. Now, by exposing network as a service as well, I'm actually hiding all the quirks of my supplier, which means that now, if I want to go, firewall was Cisco, and I'm going to change it, and it's going to be Juniper underneath, or it's going to be somebody else here, none of my IT system has to change, because they don't manage the resource level. Okay? And you know my other example where I had a PNF and now I have a VNF, I don't care, because that hasn't changed how I'm ordering, because I'm still ordering that product that has a firewall. And as long as when I advertise or when I expose that firewall as a service, I have a list of attributes that needs to be filled in when somebody orders it. That's how I'm going to trigger. That's how my domain is going to trigger, whether it's going to use Cisco or Juniper or a PNF or a VNF. And that's how I'm going to make the difference. And that's how suddenly I'm going to become so much more agile. And it's going to be a lot quicker to do things if I don't impose all of those stuff, all of that resource definition into my IT system. And trust me, there's some study have been done that a service provider will cut their delivery of products by 2/3, time-wise. It used to be from 19 months to 24 months, it would go down to 4 to 6 months. Okay? This is major. This is major cost saving. This is major quick. And we would then be able to be in the 5G game. Okay? So we really, really have to start thinking that way. So now I have the Lifecycle Operations. So these are the types of operation over the APIs that I'm talking about. And what I did with the TM Forum was we created a component suite that used these, TMF APIs defined here, but it's a whole component suite. And so I could tell my suppliers, say, hey, please implement that component suite, because this is all there is needed for all of my services that are being exposed, whether they're transport services, media services, it doesn't matter. They're all going to be using the same TM Forum APIs. And underneath, behind that, you can have all your greatest APIs, but you'll do the adaptation. So, and guess what? ONAP is also putting in those same APIs northbound, okay? So that means that within our domains, ONAP can be a domain. So if one of the different group wants to use ONAP, I don't care, that's fine, it's working fine. And so TM Forum is out there, and it's helping in how we can do things together. And there's proof of concept with the Catalyst, there's lots of information, lots of documents, there's lots of things. And they have an open API program. And on the open API program, there's 42 member companies that have signed up to the Open API Manifesto, which means that they have agreed that they will use the TM Forum APIs. And that includes over 20 service providers. And I'm talking the big names here, okay? So in summary, basically, we need to change the way we're doing things, because today, we're too slow. We're too slow, and we have to rethink how we're doing things. We have to think about exposing services from the network side instead of just waiting there to be configured. We have to take the lead. And I want all of the standards to come along and say, let's not just say how we're going to create this service, but let's just say how we're going to expose that service so that any operator can reuse it. And so the tier 2 guys can also leverage this. There's nothing stopping them from leveraging network as a service. We believe it's the way that this industry needs to go. And whether it's going to be OSM and things like that, as long as we have exposure level, how the domains build their exposure, how they do their closed loop within their domains and all of those things. It's the domain. We heard the first speaker this morning says each of the domains have their own complexity of how to do things, whether it's transport, media, and so on. Well, we're leaving that within a domain, but we're saying each domain just expose a service through the same TM Forum API so that I can configure, request, troubleshoot, and so on, the same way as a request to any one of my domains. And I don't have to think about how I'm going to adapt to the suppliers. The suppliers will adapt to understanding this request and do it in their really good ways and do it with great APIs, right? But let's leverage standards and let's do it all together so we can be more profitable and stay in the game as operator. Thank you.